Hello, everybody, and welcome to our Faith and Works podcast. I'm here with some very special people today to talk about a RETROUVAILLE experience. And so today I welcome Deacon Mark Castagnier and his lovely wife, Sue, and Greg and Anita Turner, who have been very involved in RETROUVAILLE for many years. And they're here today to share their experience of a very, very special opportunity for couples who are maybe struggling a little bit in their marriages. And they'll tell you all about that. So welcome, Greg and Anita, Mark and Sue. It's so good to have you with us today.
Thank you.
Thanks so much for having us.
So first of all, RETROUVAILLE, it's a funny word. Let's tell people what RETROUVAILLE is, where it came from, maybe a little bit about the history.
Okay, so RETROUVAILLE started in the early 70s. It actually originates in Quebec, and the word RETROUVAILLE means rediscovery. So a few years after it was in Quebec, it was actually picked up by Toronto, and they formed the Toronto RETROUVAILLE community, and they developed the weekend, and they developed the post sessions, and the also core, which means continuing our RETROUVAILLE experience. So after that, they developed it. It went into the States, and now it's all over the world.
Wow.
It follows the model of the Marriage Encounter program. So they saw that there was Marriage Encounter. However, it didn't quite go to marriages that were in trouble or that needed a more in-depth help. So that's why this program is actually for couples who are struggling. So it's a little bit more that way. And it's reaching couples that are in pain. And it's made up of volunteers who have experienced a hurting marriage or a struggling marriage, and they want to give back. So a way for us to be able to help couples be able to get out of that misery and that pain.
Okay, wonderful.
So it's considered a peer ministry, and everybody that's involved in it has been through the weekend, been through the posts, and are active in core, and that's how we develop our volunteers, is people that have been through the program.
Okay. Well, it's a beautiful name, Rediscovery. I mean, I've been married to my husband, Dave, for 30 years this fall, and we all know the ups and downs that we all go through in our marriages, with raising our children. And so Rediscovery, that's a beautiful, beautiful name for that. So wonderful. So how long has it been in the diocese? Has the diocese been involved since the 70s?
No, actually, it's been 2001 is when Windsor started their RETROUVAILLE community, and Sue and I were actually one of the first couples on that weekend.
Okay.
And in London, it started around 2004. So you may say that it's been around for
20
good 20 years.
Okay, wonderful. And how do you get the word out? I know that I have this wonderful brochure that's available in the parishes. It's a little bit, I want you to share a little bit about this. A little bit, I was apprehensive when I saw it first, Marriage Tearing You Apart. I mean, it can be a little tough. Is it just for couples who are literally just discovering that maybe they're on the brink of divorce, or, who are we reaching out to? And is it just Catholic couples?
Yeah, we can speak to that, Mary Catherine. Again, thank you. No, to answer your last question, it's not just for Catholics only. In fact, any faith or no faith couples are welcome to attend our program, and we welcome anybody to our weekend program.
So I often think of retreats or weekends as very spiritual opportunities, and so for those that aren't Catholic, and maybe we could explain a little bit about what happens on the weekend. Is it counseling? Is it a retreat per se? Do what are couples, what can they expect?
Well, the weekend, the couples arrive on a Friday evening after supper, Mary Catherine, and they continue right through till mid to late Sunday afternoon. During the course of the weekend, there's 3 couples like us that present during the weekend, but there's also a Catholic priest who sits on a panel, and he speaks to his marriage with the church. Mm-hmm. So in our case, it's Father Pio from St. Michael's, and we're so blessed to have him, so thankful. He's amazing. The couples love him. And I think couples get to see the human side of a priest, where he's not sitting or standing up on the altar, where he's behind a table and he's interacting with the couples and showing his humanity. So that's is intense might be a strong word. We expect the couples to do a lot of hard work. The Saturday is a long day, it's a full day, but it can be so worthwhile for the couples to attend this weekend without any distractions whatsoever and focus totally on their marriage. And as far as what type of couples, Mary Catherine, like you could be just a couple that is having communication problems. I don't think there's any that don't have that, but it could be A to Z as far as problems in your marriage. What brings that couple to Retrouvai? If you just want to improve your communication, you're welcome to come to Retrouvai, and we will give you some communication tools to help you move forward where you can understand your spouse on another level.
So it sounds a little bit like that communication piece of it is similar to like marriage prep. You know, most of our couples do experience marriage prep, and they're given a lot of tools at the beginning of their marriage. It sounds like this is just a wonderful sort of, you know, wherever you're at in the number of years you're married, it's just sort of another opportunity to boost some of those skills and give you the tools you need. Because we all know what it's like to, you know, after 10 years or whatever, you're raising children, you maybe had career changes. There's so many issues that come up in a marriage that really, it doesn't mean your marriage is doomed per se. It just means you're struggling. So you need these tools. Wonderful. So how did you guys get involved? Tell us your story. Why is this ministry? I can see the passion for the ministry in both of you, and tell me your stories as much as you want to share, and your witness, I guess. Part of the Faith and Works podcast is to take faith and witness together, like faith and works. What are you doing with your faith and what you believe, and how are you putting into action? So tell us your stories. Whoever wants to go first.
Okay, soon I'll go first. So we got involved in it about over 20 years ago, and Sue and I had started out as high school sweethearts, and we were very close for about the first 10 years of the marriage. But then misery set in when I was depressed and unhappy, and our priest heard about our situation and actually came over and suggested the Retrouvaill program, and gave us the dates and the contact information. And that's how we got started. And we were, like, as I said before, we were one of the first groups for Windsor Retrouvaill, because we were living down at that area at the time. You want to go ahead?
And the weekend, you can feel very scared walking into it, but you leave with so much hope. And that's what we keep saying. The Retrouvaill weekend is all about giving you hope, because you think you're in a rut, you're in a struggle, and there's no way out. And after the weekend, you come out of there like, woo, we can do this. And the beautiful part is that it's a community of people who care, who have been in your shoes. So the support continues. You're not just done the weekend and then you're let go. This love continues. And Mark has struggled with depression, and we know that we've got the support group that takes us for who we are and who we are as a couple. And why wouldn't we want other people to have this hope and to feel this joy in their marriage? It doesn't have to be doom and gloom. And I think we see it when we see the couples that it could be they're getting ready to retire. They've been married 40 years and they're like, oh my goodness, we haven't sat together alone for 20 years while the kids are growing up, or we've been running so much with the kids that we don't even have 20 minutes to talk. So we just feel like we don't want to hide this, that there is more to marriage. It doesn't have to be sad. So that's kind of our awakening when we realized, wow, there's so much hope.
Wonderful. Thank you for sharing that. Greg and Anita.
Yes. So Mary Catherine, back in 2005, our marriage was at a crossroads. Due to my indiscretions, my lifestyle, I was living the married singles lifestyle, and we talk about that on the weekend. So we separated in the summer of 2005, and I moved to an apartment by myself, and I had a lot of time to reflect. So I went back to church. I prayed every night. I prayed every day, and I just prayed to God like I never had before. And just going to church one day, and I remember I would just stare at the crucifix. You know, I don't deserve another chance in this marriage or my family, and but if there's anything up there at all, you know. So walked up the back of the church bulletin and picked up the bulletin, and here's this like you said, Mary Catherine, Retrouvaille, what's Retrouvaille? I had no idea what it was. So I had visited the house, the home that Anita was still living, and visiting our kids. So I had dropped off the bulletin, and I said, what do you think? Not no expectations. And Anita, well, here we are, 20 years later, Anita decided to go. Was it an easy road? Definitely not. But the weekend, like Sue said exactly, by the Sunday of the weekend, we had hope, a glimmer of hope, I would say. But we had hope, and that was way more than we had on the Friday evening going in. And we continued to work all the post sessions. We continued to monthly meetings with CORE, and we gave back by presenting. And now we just want to give back to those hurting couples and pass that message on that, no matter what, is it going to work for everybody? No, it's not. But there is hope, and you're not alone. And those were the two biggest parts of Retrouvaille that really helped me through this.
Yeah, and I would say even, I did a lot of finger pointing, and what I learned on the weekend is I was, throughout our marriage, I was critical. I was filled with resentment. I became very complacent, and there was a lot of imbalance in our relationship. So I saw what role I played in how our marriage was starting to kind of run out of control. So we both, we both made it, we say it's not 50-50, it's 100-100.
Yeah.
We both committed to doing the whole, there's 3 phases to the program. And the reason we're still involved today is because it keeps us on track, and, it's us focused, not just, you can be very me focused, in the relationship a lot of times, but it just keeps us kind of on the right track.
That's wonderful. Thank you for sharing that. It's a blessing to hear both of your witness stories. It sounds like it takes a lot of courage to be able to be open to this experience. What advice might you give for that one half of the couple who's maybe seeing Retrouvaille in the bulletin, and maybe they're a little bit more willing, but their spouse is not? How do you get these couples to get on the same page, and what advice do you have? Because I know that I have talked to parishioners before, or maybe the wife is interested or the husband's interested, but they can't convince their spouse. What can you say to them?
Yeah, that's very common, Mary Catherine, where one spouse is and we see couples that do come to the weekend where one spouse thinks our marriage is at a crossroads, and the other spouse thinks, this isn't too bad, but we listen. Mary Catherine, we're all volunteers. We're not professionals. We're not counselors, but all we know is Retrouvaille that worked for us. So we do our best to promote, to when we get, say, if I get a phone call from a wife that's trying to encourage her husband to go, the first thing I tell them is, you do not have to disclose why you're there. There's no group counseling. Nobody's going to ask you why you're there. We know couples in Retrouvaille for over 15 years, and we don't know what brought them to Retrouvaille, and it doesn't matter. We're non-judgmental, and it doesn't matter. So we tell that I don't know if it's a man-woman thing, but we make sure I get that message to be passed on to the husbands that you don't have to speak to anybody other than your spouse all weekend if you don't want to.
Yeah.
So.
The other thing I love to add in is we often will say to a couple, can you give your marriage 48 hours? Because that's all we're asking is for the weekend. Give your marriage 48 hours. And we ask for a testimonial at the end if anybody wants to share, or in writing. And we hear over and over again, I don't know why we waited so long. I wish we would have did it right away when we saw it. One couple waited, like they would register, they would wait, and they would go, why did we do that? Because they were so hopeful on the Sunday night. So those are the 2 things we always say to people is give it 48 hours. Your marriage is worth that. The other one is they say it's going to cost too much money. We'll say, do you know how much a divorce is going to cost? How much a separation? How is this affecting your children? If there's children involved, there's such a big picture, and it is so confidential. We don't even know the last names of a lot of the couples because we try to keep it so confidential. It's very private. So hopefully that can help couples who are wondering. It's 48 hours, and why wait?
Yeah.
Let's just fix it.
Those are important pieces. So what I'm hearing is it's not counseling. You're not going to be forced to sit in front of somebody and bear everything. You're doing it couple to couple, which is important. You're being taught sort of how to reconnect with your spouse on the weekend. You're given the tools. You're hearing other people's stories. Anything else that, like people are so afraid of, well, I don't know what's going to happen on the weekend. So I really want to burst that out. I really want to kind of expose that it's not a secret little, counseling weekend. It's just an opportunity to build hope and renewal. I mean, when we think about our vows in sickness and in health, right? We have a responsibility to take control and to be able to live by the vows that we say to each other. And I think this is just a wonderful way of being able to provide couples that opportunity. So courage, it's going to take courage for sure. How many people are on your team? What does that look like? You have several couples of volunteers, and what does that look like?
Go ahead, Mark.
Okay, so there's about 25 people that are involved as a team. On the weekend, there's 3 couples plus Father Pio. There's another couple called an angel couple that work on the weekend that help out and just make sure to keep everything going smoothly. So, and then there's a lot of people behind the scenes, like you have people show up on a Friday night that help set up. You have people show up on Sunday to clean up and take down and all that. So, I mean, we've got a really excellent group of people behind the scenes that are helping with this all the time. Do you want to add anything else, Sue?
No, and just to remember that all the couples that are there have been through the program.
Yeah.
So there's no being worried that they don't understand and you have no idea why that person is there. So again, until a person wants to share their story, because there is a lot of healing and sharing, that happens. Some couples, like Greg said, may not share for 15 years and someone else just can't wait to help other people. So they're willing to share.
Wonderful. So let's talk about the cost of the weekend and what the logistics of, like, is there a weekend? How often do you offer this service and where are they held and what does that look like?
So we have 2 weekends per year. Actually, we have our next weekend is coming up is April 9th to 11th. And then we have another one in October the 15th to 17th. So we generally, as a community, have 2 weekends per year. And they do sometimes alternate, like sometimes we had it in January, but we found the weather was always bad. So we've tried to move it into spring so it's better for people.
Oh, and if I can jump in, Windsor always has one on Valentine's weekend and then have one in August.
Okay.
So you can count on those two weekends.
Sure.
Also Windsor. So there's 4 actually happening in the London diocese.
Within our diocese. That's great, because travel might be an issue for some people. They don't want to be so far away from their kids, or, what about the cost? Let's talk about that.
Greg, do you want to do that?
Well, right now we ask for a deposit of $450 per couple, Mary Catherine. And then we ask for a further donation on the Sunday of the weekend. But having said that, if any couple has any financial issues that cannot afford, give us a call. We'll work something out. We don't turn away any couple.
Okay,
no couple has ever been turned away from any Retrouvai community in the world, as far as I know, for financial reasons. So we obviously have to break even. That's our goal. And the costs of the weekend are meals, lodging, and the rooms of the presenters. The presenters are not expected to pay. Otherwise, we probably wouldn't get too many volunteers. So those are basically the costs incurred by us. And our goal at the end of the year is to break even.
Perfect.
We're trying to keep our costs down by, in the past, we've held them at a retreat center. And now just recently, we're considering with this upcoming weekend to hold it in a hotel so it's COVID friendly.
Sure.
Which we had to raise the deposit a little bit in order to cover the hotel deposit.
Okay. And of course, that includes their meals as well.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Let's talk a little bit about, you said the no distractions. This is a new thing, the cell phones, the social media, things like that. Are people expected to kind of surrender their technology for the weekend?
We first, in a way, yes, Mary Catherine, but firstly, we don't have a box where we collect the phones. We don't do it. Father Pio is actually our timekeeper. So he lays down the rules where you're going to go. You don't even need to watch on the weekend. But obviously, if families have kids at home or medical issues or anything at all, they have their phones with them. So we encourage them to not bring them into the meeting room. And then my cell phone, when I present on weekends, is like the emergency number.
Yeah.
But we let couples have their phones. And again, they want to maybe check in with their kids at night. So we get that 100%. So, but distractions is while the no TVs in the room. I guess that wouldn't be the same in a hotel, but we encourage them not to. And we just encourage the couples to focus one-on-one as much as possible.
Yeah, good. This is where I'll share my witness. As all of you know, of course, my husband Dave and I, a few years ago now, maybe 5 years ago, we registered for a weekend. I finally convinced him. And, it was the end of Saturday night. We got back to our room and our cell phone is just blaring, and our son had been in a horrific car accident. And so we very much felt the support of the community we were in that night. We weren't able to finish the weekend. Hopefully we will be able to do that sometime, but Matthew was fine, but it was a very emotional time. But I felt the support of your group as well. And you had just met me, the couples had just met us. And so, yeah, I mean, God brings us places for reasons, and, we never know why or where, but the amount, I guess we'd done half of it, was very fruitful for us in the communication piece. And as I say, hopefully one day we'll get to finish the weekend, but it's one of those things, I'm always keen, my husband, not so much. So, you just have to let God lead us, right? Wonderful. Well, I'm very excited that we're able to get the word out, that RETROUVAILLE is here for couples. I'm hearing that, it does take some courage, but that everything's confidential, and you're not asked to do things that you're not comfortable doing, and you're there to listen and be inspired by other couples, which is very important, and to invest the 48 hours into your marriage, because we know one of the reasons we do witnesses is because we know they work. I mean, coming from experience, this is the best way that we can share our faith with others, our experiences with others, is through this witness. So, so the number, let's give people a phone number to call. I have the brochure right here, and if anybody can call me and get that information. We also, I wanted to say that we have Helping Hands at St. George, which will help subsidize weekends as well. So you just have to give me a call too, and we want to support you however we can. So how do we reach out? You can visit RETROUVAILLE on Facebook. There's also a Gmail number. It's RETROUVAILLE London St. Thomas @gmail.com. Hopefully when we edit this podcast, we'll be able to put that up at the bottom and people will be able to see that, but just Google RETROUVAILLE, or call me, or any pastor, lay ecclesial minister at your parish. They'll know how to get in touch with Greg and Anita, to answer any questions, or other team members. Anything else that you want to say before we sign off?
Yes, there's another part, that the money you're paying for the weekend, you're also getting 6 weeks of continuing education, like the post sessions.
Oh,
so
right.
You're learning a lot on that weekend. And I think Greg mentioned it earlier, there's no way you're going to learn everything and walk away with the perfect couple. So we offer, included in the price of your weekend, is 6 Saturdays where they take one of the tools and we expand on it, so that you get even more. And then we have like suggestions on how to keep the what you've learned on the weekend fresh in your marriage. And then we hold a once a month gathering of the couples. Right now we're doing it on Zoom, of course, and our posts are on Zoom, so that we're COVID safe. The weekend may also be on Zoom. If by March 1st the numbers haven't changed, we may have to switch to Zoom. So we're being flexible to offer that. But the core meetings is, we start out with a prayer. A couple will share a book they read, a TED talk they've seen, anything that they have learned about their marriage, and it's exciting to share with the other couples. And it's maybe an hour and a half, and then we have a social time. With Zoom, we just say the meeting is done and we chit chat, or or when we're in person, we have some snacks and there's like an hour of social time. So it continues to have you surrounded with couples who care about their marriage and are faith focused. And yeah, it's a great way to continue the experience. So I wanted to make sure couples know that it's not just a weekend and then we drop them, that it's there to support them along the way.
Follow up is so important, right? Staying connected. You meet all these wonderful people, and then what next? I mean, it's when you do a retreat in the parish, you have your community, but you're meeting this extended family outside of your natural community. So that's awesome. Thank you for bringing that
Very
up.
much.
Right?
Pure
Very much a
ministry.
pure mystery. And so the registration phone number, Mary Catherine, is us, and it's 519-243-0687. And or by email, which you already said the email address, our RETROUVAILLE.London.com is our London community website. There's also helpourmarriage.org, which is the international website for you as well. And yeah, thank you.
Good. Wonderful. Well, yep, go ahead, Sue.
I would say on the podcast, if you at the bottom say click here to learn more and have links, that would be perfect.
Okay, we'll see what we can do. My technology is limited, but we'll see what we can do.
Thank you.
Probably one of the most important things that people need to know, even if they just inquire but they don't commit to the weekend, is that you've got a whole group of people praying for you. I know that you guys pass along, pray, and they're praying for these couples all the time, past, present, future. So you have to know that there are people praying for your troubled marriage, to give you the strength and courage to say yes. And so please know that, you might hear this and now think about it, but it may be some time before you get the courage, and that's okay. Just do it because it's important. As you guys are great, passionate representatives of RETROUVAILLE, I thank you for that. And we hope that the lives of many marriages will be changed in the future. And so thank you again for coming on today. And God bless all of you in your ministry. And if anybody has any questions, again, you can reach out to your parish priest. You can look them up on the internet. Don't be afraid. We will be praying that you have the courage to say yes.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mary Catherine.
You're welcome.